Yo, what's going down, Green Screen Entertainment fans? Your homie Jay Green back right now with my thoughts and my feelings on the brand new Tyler Perry Netflix presents Joe's College Road Trip. Now, first, before I get into it, if you really think about Tyler Perry and his career, you would be remiss if you didn't realize that this man is basically a hero in the black filmmaking community. He's created numerous jobs, a ton of black-led productions. Rumor on the street is he bought a plantation, turned it into a black-owned studio. He's brought crazy money to Atlanta. And of course, he continues to employ many female and male black actors. Who can be mad at that? But there's a flip side to that coin. A wise man once said,
"You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain."
and if you've been paying attention, Tyler Perry's film legacy right now is being led by recycled ideas, stereotypical portrayals, incoherent storytelling, and I don't know how many stolen comedy bits. Now, I must admit, I do have a bit of a negative bias against Tyler Perry. Let me take you all the way back to when I was just a little boy man. I remember I was telling my grandma how I love the show In Living Color, and my grandma told me she didn't care for that show. I asked her, I said, "Grandma, why not? That show was hilarious." And she said she didn't like how that show made black people look. Now, at the time, just a young boy, I didn't understand where she was coming from. However, as I got some years on me, I kind of started to see where she was coming from in the way that media can kind of portray and reinforce some of those negative stereotypes, culturally appropriate our swag, and even though jokes is jokes and fun is fun, that still doesn't mean that it's not going to shape outside perceptions of the black community. And what was interesting for me to kind of think back about that is the fact that when Tyler Perry first came out, that's kind of how I viewed him. His over-the-top depictions of angry black women, most if not all of his movies with crazy and insane storylines as if this is a universal black experience, and his overemphasis on dysfunction in black families and black communities. I'm like, while white people think that shit's funny, bro, you're not really helping our cause. And it's those things that bring me to my thoughts and feelings on this movie right here. This movie's core problems is no originality and no authenticity. This movie feels like a hodgepodge of other movies' jokes. This movie feels like Tyler Perry wrote this bitch with AI and just took other movies' jokes, plot devices, and familiar comedic beats that we done seen 1,000 times before and done better. Characters are unoriginal, comedic timing is terrible, and while this movie tries to have depth to it, especially in Black History Month, ain't no goddamn depth. I was kind of scratching my head like, when did Tyler Perry actually write this movie? Because the main character in this movie is crazy derivative of Carlton Banks and Steve Urkel. Like, if you see this cat, there is no way that if you was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, that you are not like, this motherfucking Steve Urkel. Now, before I go any further, let me break down what this movie is about, so then that way I can give you a little bit more context as to why it did not work for your homie right here. This movie is basically about Tyler Perry. I think he's like a lawyer or some shit like that, right? His son is uber smart and he's about to go to some white college. Tyler Perry wants him to go to a black college. You got Madea and Joe talking all that trash that they usually talk, and Tyler Perry's talking to them like, yo, how do I get my son to act more black or respect his heritage, things of that nature. Meanwhile, he's hanging out with his white friends acting like black culture and black heritage ain't shit. Now, I'm kind of scratching my head at that just in the beginning of the movie, because if your grandma or whoever is Madea and your grandpa is Joe, and then Tyler Perry's lawyer, successful black lawyer, is your dad, how do you not know anything? And you're supposed to be super smart? That in itself makes no sense. That being said, Tyler Perry gets Joe to take him on this road trip so then that way he can learn a little something about his culture and his heritage and maybe flip his script and make him want to go to a historical black college. And of course, shenanigans will ensue. But as I said before, it feels like Tyler Perry just took all the old school, classic, good road trip movies and mangled them up into this trash that we got right here. This movie has no idea what it wants to be. 1 minute it's righteous, the next minute it's ratchet. Now in many movies that can work, it just doesn't work here. This movie literally stops the action multiple times throughout to talk about the youth and their dependency on social media, not knowing anything about their history or heritage, and continuing to state that the young men of America today are weak and have no masculinity. But none of that commentary lands or hits, because the very next moment it wants to turn around and have Joe spitting out some pimp-like, misogynistic, cartoonist bullshit that's not funny, telegraphed from a mile away, and pulls me out every time he's doing it, because I know I've seen some shit like that in other films done better. So while I will give Tyler Perry credit for trying to say something to the youth of America through this film, it just doesn't land or hit on an emotional level or an impactful level, because the writing is so terrible, the direction is so terrible, and most of his conversation is stolen. I feel like this movie is filled with narrative nonsense and is pandering to black people.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Remember, this movie is supposed to be about a road trip with a young dude and his grandpa hopefully gonna teach him a little something about black heritage. But instead, they end up going on a bunch of different side quests. One, in fact, where his grandpa's trying to get this kid wet. And when he brings his kid to the whorehouse and he's acting all goofy about it, it's just very reminiscent of the way that Steve Carell acted in 40-Year-Old Virgin. There's a scene when the kid goes up into like a biker bar, and of course all these white bikers are hella racist, calling him the N-word left and right. And then Joe goes up in there and he's fighting them, and literally my jaw dropped when I seen him fly up into the air. They froze it, go around him, bullet time swag like from The Matrix. I'm like, you referencing a movie that's like damn near 20 to 30 years old? Come on now. We all know The Matrix. We know that kick. That was parodied to death back in the day. When did you write this movie, man? And when Joe runs up into that bar trying to act all tough in front of these white people, I couldn't help but think this is very reminiscent of Eddie Murphy in The Great 48 Hours. Way more hilarious and iconic bar scene. So again, when I say that this man is just stealing bits and plot devices and all types of things from other movies that did it better, literally every single thing in here you can point to another movie that it came from that did it better. No originality, no consistency. This movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It's pandering to black people and then turns around and flips our culture off by only showcasing and highlighting stereotypes. How's Joe gonna try to convince this kid to care about black heritage, respect black culture and history, but at the same time embrace being a pimp, calling every woman in here a hoe or a bitch?
What is the crime in that?
Also, is it just me, or is this the most rated R that I've ever seen Tyler Perry before? My God, I don't watch a whole lot of his movies. Clearly, I got a bias against him, right? But this movie is vulgar as fuck, okay? Is it just me? Does Madea and Joe cuss like that? I don't think that they do, but either way, it's jumping off in here. I often say that one thing does not affect another. I'm gonna give Tyler Perry his flowers for creating the empire that he has created. That is a phenomenal feat. And yes, he's done a lot of positive things. But Tyler Perry also reminds me of the gay superhero from the Dave Chappelle special on Netflix.
The point is this: he rapes, but he saves. And he saves more than he rapes.
In that, while he's done all these amazing things, he still portrays the black community as insane, vulgar, crazy, untrustworthy,
lazy, good-for-nothing tricksters, crack-smoking swindlers, big butt having, wide nose breathing all the white man's air,
family rapist, wild maniac motherfuckers. And this movie is no less. It's not very funny, it's creatively derivative, and it's driven by stereotypes. This movie right here was the nail in the coffin for me. Trash. Yo, have you heard about Joe's College Road Trip? Were you interested in seeing Joe's College Road Trip? Have I enticed you to want to check it out? I hope not. Your homie, Jay Green, I'm out.